Andrew Copson, Chief Executive of Humanists UK. I'll just start first, if I can, Mr Copson, with a reaction to what we heard there from Ashfaq Chowdhury.
Well, I think that the general arguments that he makes are ones that many people will have sympathy with. There are lots of schools probably that do and can accommodate religious practices. The question in this case was whether this specific school was right in saying that its circumstances prevented it from doing so, and did they have a good case for saying that they shouldn't.
What have you made of this decision? The head teacher said it's a victory for all schools. Schools should be able to decide how they teach their pupils and what faith looks like in their school, if it's included at all.
It's actually a very detailed and comprehensive judgment. It's 83 pages for a case like this on freedom of religion or belief. That's quite a lengthy document. And I think the first thing I would say that I thought on reading it was that it was very specific to this school. I mean, the temptation is to draw wider social lessons from it, and I'm happy to do that in various different ways. But it is very much about this specific school, which is a school that values conformity, as you've said earlier in your questions, is very disciplined by their definition of what that means, and that was able to persuade the court, therefore, that allowing individuals to have freedom of worship during the school day was incompatible with that pattern of life that parents had chosen, that pupils knew they were signing up for, and so on and so forth. So I think that that's the first thing to say, is that it's very bound up with the specific circumstances of the school in question. I think it does have general lessons for us as a society, but I'd say the most important general lesson that came out of the judgment was that this is very complicated. We really feel the need at the moment for national guidance that will help schools not have to take cases like this, and allow parents and pupils to have clear expectations of what they can and can't do in the school day.
Yeah, you know this area well, and as you said, the guidance, well, a lot of schools wouldn't really call it guidance. Schools are being left to their own devices on this. But what is the current guidance at the moment when it comes to schools? Because, of course, you have so many different types of schools in the UK. There are faith schools for those who want their children to attend them. There are all sorts of schools. So what is the government saying schools should be doing? Because the Education Secretary today supported the judge's decision.
Yes, I mean, the comments of education secretaries from time to time aren't really, like you say, proper guidance on what is needed. There's almost no guidance to support schools. I mean, what we have is the legal framework, which says that every person in this country has the right to freedom of religion or belief, but that can be restricted in certain circumstances. It can be restricted to prevent harms to others. It can be restricted by public authorities like schools for other reasons if they can show that those reasons are proportionate. In this case, the school had a number of reasons for saying this was proportionate. What I think government really needs to do is to talk to a whole range of schools, find out where the real problems currently are on the ground, and issue national guidance that will assist schools in not having to go to court every time, and know what accommodations they should and shouldn't be making and how they can make those decisions. Because although the school has won today, as you say, I don't think this case should really have ever happened. Everyone's expectations in our school system should have been clear enough to prevent it from happening. Now, for me, I think, and this is where I slightly disagree with one of the questions you put earlier, I think that actually it doesn't matter whether a state school is a faith school or a so-called secular school. The important starting point is to see how we can respect maximally the freedom of religion and belief of every person, but also balance that against the need for an inclusive school culture. So, for example, we're the only country in the world that still requires Christian daily worship in our schools. Lots of schools do it, some schools don't. That's a law that dates from 1944, and the sort of discussions we're having now would be completely, foreign as concepts to the world of 1944. That shows we need to update our thinking about this.
What do you think the best way to be truly inclusive in schools is then? Because, the big question is, out of all of this, how do we balance protection and freedom of religion and beliefs and fair and inclusive education for all in the United Kingdom?
You're absolutely right. That is the big question, and it is probably too big a question to answer in a few seconds now. The approach that I would favour would start from the question of what do we want the outcomes to be. What we want young people to experience in school is to learn about and with and from people from a range of different backgrounds in an environment that feels safe, and in an environment where, if they have genuine convictions, freedom of belief should be upheld as far as it can be. Now, I think the most persuasive argument the school had in this case was that they worried that if some pupils began to pray and to have very visible prayer, that this would become a source of intimidation to others, and that people who didn't want to pray would be forced to pray. That's what the school said. There's evidence that happens in other places, but it's on schools to help build the cultures where that that sort of bullying and intimidation wouldn't happen. Cultures of genuine freedom and equality. How they do that? Well, it's done through, I think, school assemblies. Let's get rid of the law requiring collective worship, Christian worship. Let's bring in a law requiring inclusive assemblies that draw on a range of traditions. Let's give space in the curriculum for children to genuinely learn about a wide range of different religions and beliefs. And let's try and foster mutual respect for people's different practices where they can be accommodated.
OK, Andrew Copson, Chief Executive of the Humanist Society. Really good to have you on the UK Tonight this evening. Thank you so much for your time.